I felt like I'd failed her. Like, because the school, the hospital, everyone had let me down, everyone that I counted on. And I'm like, where's my support network? And what have I done?
Hi, I'm Lance, and this is Unsilent, a speak series by No Stigmas that champions mental health advocacy and challenges the stigmas that all too often prevent people from getting the help they need. We're so glad you're here. And in today's episode, we get to meet Erika. Now, Erika is the mother of the wonderful, wonderful Micaela, who is living with Down syndrome with a global developmental delay and is also nonverbal. They're based in the UK, and Erika is passionate about advocating for the therapies and the services for her daughter and individuals that she calls are differently able, not disabled. Throughout our entire conversation with Erika, we really dive into the intersection between mental health and the daily experiences of these differently abled individuals. Erika's advocacy celebrates all the many gifts that her daughter Micaela has to share with this world and reminds us of the value and importance of fighting for inclusivity and the mental health equity of all. And in this first part of our two-part conversation with Erika, we get to know about her family, her background, and even some of the experiences surrounding trauma that her family experienced in recent years. We also, of course, talk mental health and how some of these challenges may manifest in the life of those that are differently abled, just like her wonderful daughter Micaela. All right, let's dive in.
Basically, my name is Erika Petrie. My youngest daughter, Micaela Petrie, has Down syndrome and global developmental delay. And it is Down Syndrome Awareness Month this month, the month of October, just to put you in the picture. Basically, a few years back, I nearly lost her. She developed sepsis following a bite from another child at school. And so we spent 4 days at Salisbury Hospital. Unfortunately, they didn't disinfect it properly at the local hospital. They just put it under running water, which is ridiculous. So we ended up in Salisbury Hospital for 4 days, and she had everything. She even had an operation under general, where they opened out the finger and cleaned it up and whatever. And she had drips and blood tests and, vaccines, you name it, she had it. She had a cannula in her arm the whole time and whatever. And she was such a brave little soldier. I was climbing the walls, but she was really brave, never shed a tear and just got through it. And during that time, I sort of prayed. I've got a lot of faith, and I wrote a song, putting into words what I thought she would say if she could speak, because she's nonverbal. And then when she did survive, I went under for a bit. I had my own mental health issues. Obviously, you nearly lose your child and whatever, and you doubt the school and the hospital and everyone who hasn't done what they were supposed to be doing, and you think, who can I count on? So I went under. I ended up in a mental hospital myself. For a while. But when I came out, I decided that I was going to do something with the song. And so we ended up putting it on a website in 2 versions. We set up an awareness raising campaign for children who are differently able, like Micaela. And we started raising money for different charities that supported us along the way with Micaela. But now, a few years down the line, we've actually got to the point where we're now an official registered charity in the UK. So we're now raising money in our own right. And we've recently launched a charity CD album featuring 11 original tracks on diversity inclusion, some of them written by myself, and obviously including the original track that we put on the website. And when they're non-verbal and they can't really communicate like everybody else, you don't know what to do because you don't know how to help them. And also, she was completely lifeless. I mean, she's full of life. She's very physically able. There's nothing she can't do on a physical level, even though she is nonverbal. But she was completely lifeless in my arms, and I took her to the GP and he gave her a penicillin injection, oxygen mask, and put us on the ambulance. There was nothing else to do at that point, and he saved her life. And it was really touch and go. And she was completely lifeless, completely different to how she is normally. And she was closer to death than life, really. So that was really scary. When your child is different, they don't get accepted by society in the same way. There's nothing to be done. I mean, society has improved. We've come a long way, obviously, but there aren't the same opportunities for them as everybody else, and they're not included in the same way. And she started out in mainstream, but we did move her into special at one point because obviously she had a TA in mainstream, but she ended up spending all her time with this TA. So she was out of the class and she wasn't really integrated into the class anyway. So there came a point where there wasn't any point in her staying in mainstream, and she moved to special where they can give her the life skills and the additional therapies and the support that she needs. And she's fully integrated into a very small group of children of similar age and ability to herself. Well, you don't really know when they're not well and whatever. I mean, obviously you can tell by the fact that they're unhappy and whatever, but you don't actually know. You have to second guess, what is actually wrong and whatever, and you really have to look out for the signals. She's very much a creature of habit and routine, though, so she very much responds to everything that is within her routine, and she'll bring me a cup if she wants a drink and whatever. She'll indicate when she's thirsty. She'll indicate when she's hungry. She'll come down and sit in her chair when she knows it meets meal times. So there's certain things that are easy to interpret, but yeah, it's not easy. And I communicate a lot with her through music. I mean, music therapy is a vital therapy for her, which is also why this whole venture has come about through music as well. Yeah, see, it's difficult to tell, but sometimes she'll come to me and she's visibly frustrated, or sometimes she'll give me a really, really, really tight hug, like more than normal, and she's like, "Ooh," and she's screwing up her face, and so you can tell that she's got this frustration, and she obviously needs more compression, more reassurance, and more sensory input, and stuff like that. So, but it's difficult to tell, obviously, because she can't really tell me. But yeah, I interpret it by seeing, how she is really. And obviously, this whole thing has taken its impact on my mental health because I'm fighting on a daily basis to get her the support that she needs, to get her the therapies that she needs and whatever. It's not a given because there's never enough funding. There are never enough therapists available. There are never enough therapies available. So it's a constant fight. It's a constant battle. And so I need to also obviously be careful in all this to take care of my mental health so I don't go under like I did years ago when we nearly lost her. Yes, I did. I mean, at university, for instance, I broke down. I had a very difficult time. I went to the university in the UK, and in the end, I ended up going back to Italy and carrying on my studies in Italy because it was too much for me. But yeah, I really, really struggled because I found myself in a course that wasn't really what I wanted. I'd sort of been following what other people had told me to follow rather than what I really wanted deep down. I think it's very important to follow your passion, follow what you're good at rather than what other people recommend. And unfortunately, I was very susceptible when I was younger to what other people thought and whatever. So I tried to fit the pattern of what everybody else wanted, but it really wasn't me. And I struggled in my second year, particularly at Kent University, because I ended up very far away from the campus and whatever, and it took me ages to get there. And I was with other 5 or 6 in the same house, and they were very noisy and always having parties and whatever. And I just wanted to study and concentrate and whatever, and it kind of went against who I was and whatever. So I found it really hard. And I had a boyfriend at the time who was in France, and we were seeing each other every 3 months and whatever. So that was difficult as well. So yeah, I did have a bit of a struggle on and off over the years, particularly sort of in my sort of teenage years, but the early 20s more than anything. Yeah, I struggled for quite some time, and I was in a marriage that didn't work out, and I had to come out of and whatever. So yeah, there were a lot of issues before Micaela came along. Anyway, so yeah, I felt like I'd failed her. Like, because the school, the hospital, everyone had let me down, everyone that I counted on. And I'm like, where's my support network? And what have I done? Have I put her in the right school? Am I counting on the right local hospital? I mean, where do I go? What do I do? I really felt like I'd failed her. And all that year had been a tricky year for me. For a variety of different reasons, and that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. I went under, and thank heavens that I've got the family that I've got. Although they're in Italy, my parents came over and nursed me back to health and got me out of that hospital, and helped me see the light. And then I started to go and attend local groups like Dorset Mind and whatever, to speak to other people in similar situations and try and get myself out of there. Because for me, it was all about getting off the medication and just talking through stuff and really sort of, confronting myself with other people who'd been in similar situations and getting that support and having that support network around me so that even when my parents went back to Italy, I was able to then stand on my own 2 feet again. Was really important that I take care of myself, that I have that self-care, and that I learn to say no, because I was always saying yes to everybody, and I couldn't do it. And you can't give and you can't pour from an empty pot. You can't give from a bank that hasn't got anything in it. If you're emotionally and physically void, you can't be there for anybody else if you haven't been there for yourself and you're not in the right place. So you can give a lot more if you're in the right place yourself and you look after yourself. So being, you know, being responsible for your self-care is not selfish. Actually, it's selfless, because it enables you to then be there that bit more for everybody else who counts on you, and it all falls apart if you can't be there, because they depend on you, especially when you're a mother and you wear so many different hats and you're so many different things for different people. So that was the key thing. I thought very strongly of a friend of mine, presented me with this image, and it stuck with me. When you're on the plane, they say to you, when the oxygen masks come down, put your own oxygen mask on before helping everybody else. They don't say put them on your children or whatever, because otherwise then you don't have the oxygen. So yeah, you need to think about having your own oxygen mask on before you can help everybody else. So yeah, that's a really strong image for me, and it's one that's helped me. And I'm much more aware of saying no now, and stepping back when I can't, or postponing things, or giving an alternative if I can't in that moment, because I like to say yes. I'm quite an empath and I like to support other people, but I'm quite sort of wary of safeguarding my own self-care, first and foremost now. Basically, just everything, the funding that's not there, the therapies that are lacking, all this kind of stuff I've been fighting from day one. And we regularly have this problem with caseworkers in the UK, where they regularly change the caseworker that's responsible for your child's educational healthcare plan, and that becomes a problem, because more often than not they don't meet your child. They're writing about a child that they know nothing about, and they're supposed to write the document that is actually responsible for your child's care until they're age 25. So it's quite an important document, and more often than not they've not met your child, they've not been at any meetings with your child and whatever, and they change regularly, so that there's the continuity sadly lacking, and your child just becomes a number in the system. So you're fighting to make sure that your child is recognised, and that the document is appropriately worded as if it's the child themselves, because the whole transition from statement to educational healthcare plan was made so that the plan itself would actually be worded as if it was the child, and it's personal to the child, so it has to have that wording, whatever. So again, I fought that battle as well to try and get the correct wording, whatever, and I'm still fighting it, really, because Micaela's not getting enough of the occupational therapy and stuff that she needs to be able to get to the speech therapy. So there is all of that, and it's all filling these gaps, and being on the system 24/7, basically, to follow up and chase and be that mediator, because sometimes people don't even correspond, talk to each other in the same office. This becomes a problem. You have to sort of put it all together. And I'm doing this not just for myself, but for other parents, so that parents don't have to fight as much in years to come as we have. And hopefully there will be, in time, more funding and more therapies available, whatever, but also through us, to make that difference, and also raise that valuable awareness that these people are individuals just like us, and they deserve to be respected and valued and included just like we are, because a life is a life, and they have human rights and rights to respect, just like we do, and it's important. And this advocacy helps me to face the day-to-day, because there's so much that's unknown still with Micaela. So this helps me feel like I'm doing something about it, and that I'm going to be able to make a difference to her legacy and the legacy of differently able children in the future. So it helps me and it empowers me in some way, and it makes me feel better on a mental level as well. Well, for me, it's all about diversity and inclusion. And these children, they're not included enough in the system and whatever. Obviously, they are in a school, if they're in a special school and whatever, that they're given that. But again, because of the lack of funding, because of the lack of therapists and whatever, we have to push for these things, and we have to fight for these things. And then, there's more of sort of wanting that acceptance and that inclusion more in society, in play groups and other activities, and in future jobs, and, so that there is more of that available for them in the future, because otherwise, that, where are they going to go? We want their voices to be heard. So it's all about getting their voice heard, getting it out there, and getting them included, and getting them those human rights that they deserve. I mean, in recent months, the Down syndrome bill was passed, so that they will have more of a voice in the future, and that they will be better heard and respected in the future. And I very much hope that will be the case. And it's constantly being developed and evolved. But we're trying to move forward into all these things, so that there is, and it's not just about Down syndrome. Obviously, Micaela has Down syndrome, so it is about that, but it's about different ability per se, autism, whatever different ability they have, being recognised for who they are and what they deserve. And we have a live blog on our website as well, which is all about different challenges that people have overcome, whether it is from mental health or different ability, or homelessness or cyberbullying or alcoholism, anything major that anyone has overcome. We've put it on there as a positive story, as a positive outcome for people to connect with. And people have found this hugely beneficial, especially through the pandemic, when people want to hear positive news. And that's gone from strength to strength, and that's being regularly developed. And we've got all our podcasts there in the podcast section, all the podcasts that we've done on the radio and whatever. And this interview will go on there as well. So, we've got all that, and that's a wealth of knowledge and information. And it's a debate in real time that people can share what they've been through, and show that anything can be overcome with a little bit of positive mindset. So that's a lot about mental health, really.
To go beyond the show, be sure to connect with us on all social media platforms at No Stigmas, and you can always reach out at nostigmas.org to connect with us and see how we can team up together to champion mental health equity for all. Remember, to break these stigmas, we must be unsilent. We'll see you next time.